and holding leaders accountable for their actions. On this program today, we'll be discussing a wide range of issues, including workers' rights, labor laws, industrial relations, and social justice. We will also be hosting guests from various sectors, including labor leaders, policymakers, and experts in related fields. Labor Forum is created, or has been created, is to create a space for workers' voices to be heard, and their concerns are addressed. I believe that by working together, we could build a more just and equitable society for the Nigerian workers. My name is Anthony Oragbo. I'm the anchor of this show, and I welcome you to the program. Next, we have some labor tidbits, which we will now read out.
Striking resident doctors in the Federal Capital Territory have accused FCT Minister Nyesom Wike of neglecting health facilities and workers' welfare in the nation's capital. The president of the resident doctors in the FCT, George Ebong, said though Wike has been busy fixing roads, he has abandoned government-owned health institutions in the nation's capital with many in deplorable conditions. The doctors began a 3-day warning strike on Wednesday over unpaid salaries and allowances, among others, after the expiration of a 3-week ultimatum earlier issued. The development grounded activities at government hospitals in Abuja from Wuse to Asokoro, Maitama, Kubwa, Zubwa, Kwale, Abaji, Yanya, and others. Dr. Ebong said doctors sometimes don't have electricity to work, with no drugs in the hospitals and no sufficient manpower. He complained that only one doctor manned some hospitals in Abuja. Ebong said many doctors have not been paid their 6-month salaries despite working hard and taking on responsibilities of 4 or 5 more persons. Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Polytechnics has suspended its planned 3-day warning strike, initially scheduled to commence on January 22nd, 2025. In a statement by the National Secretary, the suspension followed a meeting mediated by the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. The meeting, chaired by the Minister of Labor and Employment, involved key stakeholders, including representatives from the National Board for Technical Education, the Federal Ministry of Education, and the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. Gaya described the meeting as characterized by robust engagement, noting that stakeholders signed a memorandum of understanding at the end of the session. According to the statement, the government reaffirmed its commitment to addressing concerns including rightful career progression of non-teaching staff. The Nigerian Labour Congress has called on Nigerians to prepare for a nationwide boycott of telecommunications services in response to the federal government's recent approval of a 50% increase in telecommunications tariffs. However, telecommunications company insisted that the tariffs is essential for long-term sustainability of the sector and the improvement of services for subscribers. The scheme, as the Federal Competition and Consumer Protections Commission, charged the telcos to prioritize service improvement following the approval to hike telecommunications tariffs. The NLC, in a statement, described the increment as a grave injustice to citizens already burdened by economic hardship. NLC President Joe Ajaero expressed deep concern over the timing of the hike, which, according to him, coincides with rising inflation and declining purchasing power. He said telecommunication services have become a basic necessity, with the average Nigerian worker spending approximately 10% of their income on telecoms charges. The NLC president criticized the government for fast-tracking the tariff approval within a month while taking nearly a year to implement the recently revised minimum wage. He also argued that the disparity across the government's bias towards corporate interests over the welfare of its citizens. The NLC president, however, urged Nigerians to reject the tariff hike and prepare for collective action, including the possibility of a mass boycott of telecommunications services to compel a reversal of the increase. The the Nigerian Labour Congress has described as absorbed the 8 billion naira allocated in the 2025 federal budget to sensitize Nigerians on the need to pay electricity bills. This was revealed in a statement signed by the President of the Union, Comrade Joe Ajaero. The Federal Ministry of Power had proposed a budget of 8 billion naira for 2025 to educate Nigerians on the importance of timely payment of electricity bills. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabo, during his budget defense at the National Assembly, revealed the initiative, which he said aims to address the challenges of power theft, poor payment habits, and the protection of national power assets. He explained that the campaign would be conducted through multiple media platforms, including social, digital, and print, to reach Nigeria's diverse population of over 200 million effectively. Reacting, Ajaero said the ministry's demand was absurd, urging those in the Power Ministry and the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to reinvigorate the sector and save it from total collapse. The statement titled "Before the Collapse of the Power Sector, 8 billion naira budget for electricity bill sensitization and matters arising" highlighted gross corruption in the power sector and the inability of the leaders to find lasting solution to power challenges despite huge investment in the sector.
Thank you for still staying tuned to us. You are still listening to Labour Forum on Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja. You could also join us on live streaming on Citizen FM 93.7. Just type in Labour Forum. You can also listen to us online on www.citizenfm.ng. Or follow us on our social media platforms. Facebook at Citizen FM Abuja, Instagram at Citizen 937, and on X at Citizen 937. At this junction, like I told you last week when we promoted the commencement of this Labour Forum, I told you that the number one worker in Nigeria, the president of Nigeria Labour Congress, Comrade Joe Ajaero, will be our first guest. He's now live and direct as the first guest on Labour Forum. Comrade President, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Comrade President, I know that your schedule are very tight, so we'll just take it very quickly. First, I want you to assess the outgoing year, especially concerning challenges that Nigerian workers faced.
Well, the previous year was eventful, full of activities, just like any other year where you have the issue of minimum wage being negotiated. It's nothing out of place. But the activities that followed thereafter mattered a lot. Activities that had to do on infringement of rights, especially that of the labor leaders, probably for their passive roles in ensuring that workers earn their entitlement and ensuring that human rights of citizens and the right to protest, the right to rally, the right to picket, is a fundamental right that cannot be taken away by any administration. So a fight back coming from there was what characterized most of the activities of last year. But it's nothing out of place, because we have been witnessing this almost every other time.
Okay, maybe as a follow-up, 6 months down the line, what has been the compliance rate, especially the state governments?
Well, compliance rate has not been too bad. The last minimum wage, there are some states that even paid or started paying when we were negotiating this current one. And some, modeled it up and they never paid correctly up to the time we negotiated. But with that information at the background, We followed up. The states that have not paid, as of today, have signed agreements and commitment to pay, either by this January and arrears. That's the information before us. I can't remember of any state that is not paying and that has not signed an agreement to commence payment in this January. So that is where we are, unlike previous experiences. However, by the time they all commence payment, we are equally going to look at the ones that are paying in breaches. Beyond that, it's not all about the public sector. We have focused our searchlight on the private sector, especially the organized private sector, and to look at the level of compliance. Because in that sector, some of them were not paying 70,000, some were far more above it, especially the organized private sector. But we are going to look at relatively how the new minimum wage is being impacted there and how it is being reviewed there. Although some of them have a CBA agreement, a collective bargaining agreement, that they review minimum wage or no minimum wage every 2 years or 3 years with reopener clauses that they negotiate their own. So naturally, wages are being reviewed in the organized private sector without waiting for government to increase minimum wage. So that place is more or less organized, but to now look at the effect, if I was getting 70,000, when people were being paid 30,000, now that they are earning 70,000, with all the effects, what am I supposed to get? So we are going to look at that, and we have started work in the organized private sector, as well as the informal sector, since that's a new area that we have tried to capture. But one of the good things of this last minimum wage is the fact that, the review period have been reduced to 3 years. In fact, that was one of the landmark achievements after that negotiation. Rather than wait for the next 5 years for us to review, it is clear to every one of us now that we should be targeting the next, since we're in 2025, we should be targeting the next 2 years to have a new minimum wage and see the impact on the economy, especially with the level of inflation and the valuation of the currency.
Okay, Mr. President, thank you for that. I want to touch on this issue of the tax bill. The controversy seems to have died down, but I'm aware that the Congress is still calling for the withdrawal until there is a public hearing and calling for greater inclusivity of the tax committee. What is your comment on that?
Well, that's the position of Congress. Like somebody asked me this morning somewhere that we have protested and government is still keeping the issue of PMX price. That we have protested, we couldn't stop government from electricity tariff. And I now ask, if we have protested and done all these things, it is an eloquent testimony for you to show that labor was not docile and we have fought. So if you have the people to blame, as you are saying, that government doesn't want to do anything, but not that they didn't hear or they have heard us, and they're now expecting a wrestling match, whether we can hold their hands, that they will not do it. Far from it. In every organized setup, it is for logic and reason to prevail. If we have raised up these issues, and we look at it idea to idea, it's not a question of take it or leave it. And I wouldn't know whether that will equally play out in this electricity bill. They came out with a policy that those earning maybe less than 800 or less than 1 million will be exempted from tax. And we have looked at it. If you look at the earners, those that earn this new minimum wage, level 1, step 1, 70,000. Now, by the time you get to level 1, step 15, you discover that the people might have passed almost 80,000-90,000. Level 2, then you have above 100,000. It is where you get to around level 4, step something, that you see workers, maybe the clerks and whatever, that they are. You hardly see people in level 1, step 1, level 1, level 2, up to level 3. So the workers, the average Nigerian worker, are the ones on maybe level 4. And that level 4, some of them are earning over 100 naira. And then over 100,000 naira in a year will give you about 1.2 million. So you can see that almost all workers are not exempted. And then if you now, so who are the people being exempted? And then by the time you tax this bracket, and we're talking of electricity bill, we're talking of telecom now, we're talking of even indirect taxation. We're talking of even when you go to POS and then you collect money, they tax you. And all these times, if you look at the burden on the worker, it's so much. And nobody has tried to engage us to say, oh, what you are saying, there's no reason in it, than to say we will not do it. So by the time you continue in this way, it gives an impression, either within or without the quality, that you are not listening to the people you are governing.
Yes, Mr. President. For those who don't know, you have been in the power sector for decades. Before coming to assume the position of President of NLC, you are the General Secretary of National Union of Electricity Employees, the powerful NUI. Recently, the NLC called for the sack of the Minister of Power. What informed this position of Congress?
Well, the issue is that the NLC didn't say we'll sack the Minister of Power, because if it would sound a bit crude. Apart from being NLC president, I think I'm an authority in energy law. And I now said the 2023 Electricity Act made provision for the office of the Minister of Power. Section 5 of it, was clear. Section 5(1) A to C clearly enumerated his office. And that of the Regulatory Commission, NEC, Section 33, 34, were clear on the rules of NEC. And I say that they have abdicated in these responsibilities. And that if they are not ready to do their work, they should resign. I think that's the word we use, that if they can't perform, they should resign. And you can't see somebody like this Roman emperor who is frolicking while the empire is burning. You see a situation whereby there is constant grid collapse in the power sector. And somebody is calling for 8 billion to educate Nigerians, to sensitize Nigerians. I'm saying that is not the duty of the Minister of Power. Never. That in a Minister of Power in a privatized sector cannot be using government money to facilitate the activities of the discos. Discos are totally privatized. I probably went further to say, with 12 years of privatization and government maintaining 40%, that I challenge him to tell us how much dividend government has received from their 40%. And he can't just wake up now to be getting his priority wrong. So why can't he use another 4 billion to tell Nigerians to pay when they buy gari or when they buy granite? Because that one is entirely private business, and he shouldn't take government money. And that a transmission company of Nigeria, where you are witnessing this grid collapse, as at today, they are owing contractors over 200 billion. And he's not thinking of how to solve it, because contractors are not willing to give even any material on credit. And you are talking of sensitizing them. A period will be talking of energy, stable power supply, talking of renewable energy as enshrined in the law that gave him his powers. And now you are now talking of, trying to sensitize people. Whereas the discos have their public affairs department, they have duties to sensitize people to pay their bill. It is not the job of the minister to do that. And 8 billion is big enough money. Part of his job is to facilitate, monitor, the issue of metering of all houses. That is not happening. Years after, even with huge money spent there, that houses are not being metered, and that you can't buy a product without knowing the measure. And I'm saying that even women that sell gari in the market have cups to measure it. Even if you enter filling stations, there's a meter. You can't be selling electricity based on estimated billing. And I'm saying that part of the regulatory processes of the NEC and the Minister of Power is to ensure that these things are done, to make sure that even the poor, the weak, there's consumer assistance fund, and there's need for to connect to the rural communities, and all these things are not done. And that he called his attention back to his job and his responsibilities, that if he's not ready to do it, he should put in his paper. It was on that condition that that word was used.
Thank you, Mr. President. Another area I would like us to look at is this issue of casualization. The government, the president, and others, they go about asking for foreign investment and all that. But these companies, they come here and dehumanize our people. Casualization. I know the Congress has been fighting this. What is the situation today?
It's getting out of hand, and it has to. It has a lot to contribute to the self-image of citizens of a country. If people are working in a place and they see themselves as half citizens, casual people that they can engage and fire, they can dispense of their services overnight. That doesn't give them the motive. Let's take the power sector we just finished now. You have close to 3,000 in the transmission company of Nigeria alone, that are casual or contract staff. And these are the people you want to maintain a sustained grid system. The answer is heck no. If you go to the distribution companies and the generating companies, it's worst. Now, when people don't have anything to rely on, you engage their services, you sublet their jobs, all these contract labor people. And then when they work for 2 years, you dispose of them and bring another group of people. It does not give people the power, and the confidence that they are working for tomorrow, that when they finish this work, they can get their pension. And this has been on and on. And the Minister of Labor is not helping matters. The way they are licensing all these agencies to supply labor, to organizations is so annoying. So if you don't, what you give is what you are going to get. If you take the power sector, which has an aging workforce because of when it is growing, it's like every month people are retiring, and then you say there's embargo on employment, and then you continue to engage people on casual contract basis. Some of them, even before you train them, they will leave because you are not paying them well. That is not how to handle such sectors, and it's affecting everywhere. In the finance sector, the policy of now saying even if you're a contract staff or casual staff, you have to be unionized. It's neither here or there. If you are unionized and you're a contract staff, where lies your position as a worker that will call yourself Nigerian worker? So what some of us did in those days in the power sector was to ensure that even when you engage people as contract staff, you have to regularize them with time. So, and I will urge my colleagues in all the sectors of the economy not to be deceived when they say, oh, there's leave for contract staff. We are deducting their pension. When they deduct pension 3 years after and they throw them out. So what happens? They contribute to pension. I think they have to fight to make sure that if somebody is good enough to work for 2 years or 1 year and is good enough, you can equally convert the person to permanent staff. And let's see how it goes.
Yes, well said, Mr. President. I must thank you for the views expressed. In August last year, we were surprised that Nigerian police invited you on allegation of criminal conspiracy, terrorism financing, treasonable felony, subversion, and cybercrime. What is the situation as of today on these allegations?
I really don't know the situation. I know that in this building that I stayed at use a police state, they said there was another person that stays here that was selling a bookshop, and that they invaded the person. In fact, what they told me was that they invaded the person's office and they carted away with some documents, and that we raised alarm. Yes, we did raise alarm as NLC that you came to our building, Labour House, in the night, and then you broke into offices. You came to the 10th floor, you arrested our security, and you brought them back down, and you opened the offices. And ordinarily one should be expecting the outcome of such evasion. And the following day, none of us knew. We were even accusing almost all agencies. We didn't know those that carried out the operation until the police came out boldly, probably to fight back. Why should we do that? And they invited me for all those charges. And I went, Even when I was traveling again, to UK for a program, they only picked me up at the airport. And the same police equally came again to interrogate me, on all these issues. So, like you said, I don't know. I didn't understand the concept of all those charges. And the person they arrested had worked here in Nigeria. The person worked with them in the World Bank projects. He has been in Nigeria for 20-something years. He has worked in the ministries, state governments, Benue and other areas. So is it the workers that brought the person here or the government? Ordinarily, we are quick to think that they planted a person here probably to subvert our activities. However, what be it, whatever is the outcome of their investigation, they should have made it public. But my complaint was that with my own little experience, if you are targeting somebody to arrest the person, it is not to evade the person's office and the person runs away. I told them this, that you should have laid ambush on the person until you arrest him. That the very moment you break into that person's office, he will run away. Exactly. And that was exactly, where we differed in the mode of operation. So some other allegations, someone that cannot sponsor his own activities, can sponsor terrorism or whatever. So you can see that the trade union movement will have come of age, and our patriotism is higher than any institution you can think of, including the Nigerian Army. So to just trivialize issues, especially such national security issues and allegations, is very unfortunate. That's the word I will use, because if not that we are doing this job, if we hear that somebody is giving that charge tomorrow, we'll be having in mind, is it true or not? Even the protest they were talking about, before that time, we say we don't join the protest that we didn't know how it was organized, and we are not part of it. But when the protesters were being arrested and whatever, as a labor movement, we opened our mouth. So if that was the offense we committed, we'll continue to commit such offense by speaking out when people's rights are being trampled upon. So that's the little I know about that, and the other ones is left for history.
I must thank you, Mr. President. It's been quite interesting, your intervention. You have more or less launched Labour Forum. It is now left for unions, comrades to take advantage. It has been so much interesting speaking with you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. So this is our package on the maiden edition of the program Labour Forum. Until we come your way again, 1 p.m., Thursday next week, I am Anthony Ogagmo, the anchor of the program. Thank you and God bless.